Halo Sobat Media Asuransi, jumpa lagi dalam podcast Media Asuransi bersama saya, Ayu Ahmad Hidayah. Pada episode kali ini, kita kehadiran tamu yang sangat spesial dan akan membahas topik yang juga sangat spesial, yaitu the new era of insurance in smart city. We have Mr. William Lee, co-founder of YAS MicroInsurance. They are one of the biggest, maybe, Insurtech in Asia Pacific, yeah? William, yeah? We have
Thank you. Yes, certainly.
Just an honor we have you in podcast Media Asuransi. We're very interesting about the new era of insurance you develop in your company. Lately, we uploaded the release about your company info, and we have to deeply again about the topic in our podcast, William. How are you, William?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Very good. Thank you, William. First of all, I want to ask you about eco-friendly insurance blockchain. What is eco-friendly insurance blockchain? You have to share with us, William.
Sure. Maybe I take a little bit step back then. I think why blockchain with insurance, and then we can go to why green, right? Insurance, I think for the audience, most of everyone would know it requires a lot of data, right? And that's a fact. We need data to underwrite. We need data to understand the risk and so forth. But right now, data are mostly historic, right? So I've been thinking, if we want the future of insurance, we need something that is transparent. That's what people want nowadays. How are you using my data? We want something that people can control. We want things that to be efficient, and we want it to be borderless, right? So blockchain is kind of a no-brainer, but when we choose to use what blockchain and do we build our own, you look at what are the mainstream ones. They are mainly on proof of stake and proof of work. In simple terms, they are very, power demanding and mostly requiring specific mining machines and equipments, right?
Okay.
So if you think about insurance usage, if we think about, massive use, high volume transaction, well, we hate to compensate and compromise efficiency with the earth, basically, right? With respect to the environment. So we have to find something that is green, and by eco-friendly, what we did was our CTO have been researching this with a lot of blockchain experts around the world, and we decided to use a different consensus model, a proof of capacity consensus model. So it requires 1,000 times less than other means of consensus in terms of power consumption. And it doesn't require like a very artificial creation of an equipment to mine it. It uses unutilized hard disk space, right? So we're turning wastage to something we can use to power rather than creating wastage to power something. So that's kind of our vision, right? We want to make sure we're building for the future of insurance, and we want to build something that is not only efficient but also good for the earth.
Okay. Lately, you have a collaboration, with Amodo,
Yes.
There is one of the biggest technology company,
in Europe,
in the world. Technically, how is the data generated from telematica for the insurance purpose, William?
How is it used?
How it's used?
Well, similar to what I earlier mentioned, right? If we look at what the insurance industry has been doing for the past 100 years, it's mainly using historical data, leveraging on a big sample size, and as to make it very simplified and average, right? To balance all the risk, right, and make sure the risk are kind of balanced. But if you look at the lifestyle in 21st century, all the data are not much relevant just on historical sense. It's happening day to day, real time on your smart devices, on your smartphone, on your smartwatch, on your smart lock, and so on and so forth. And very soon in the near future, cars and mobilities will be all kind of autonomous and automated. So with that, all these telemetric data coming from all the smart devices, it enables us, it actually unlock potential of how, the next version of insurance would be, right? And with that, then you can understand individualism. You can have insurance that is just for you, right for you, based on your risk and based on all your data, right? Based on the data that you interact with. So it could be individualized, it could be seamless, it could be much more affordable, right? And you save you time, right? So coming to these four things for the consumer, that's what all the telemetrics around us, with data only going to be more and more abundant. That's what's going to be enabled and unlocking. So that's why, and that's how we're using the telemetrics.
How it's work, William? That you say YAS is not only in Hong Kong market, you have market in Malaysia, and other country maybe, How it works? Because the source of the data may be very widely, very big, how it works for you and Amodo, William?
So Amodo, our partner, they are very expertise on motor and mobility, right?
Okay.
And we are very experienced and expertise on both to the consumer side, the blockchain side, and on microinsurance, right? On the underwriting and the understanding of risk. So, when building a venture, you kind of don't want to just all do it by yourself. A healthier way, a faster scale way is to collaborate. And we see the benefits and the strengths with Amodo, and we combine and collaborate. That's kind of where the partnership comes from. But when you talk about different countries, right? Okay. Well, it's still human beings. I mean, the risk, of course, is different. But the beauty of data is they tell the truth, right? So let's say in Malaysia, the traffic and the weather is different to say Hong Kong. Well, that's what the truth is telling us. And how do we assess that? How do we process that with things like machine learning and continuous observation of data and risk and calculation? You can start to understand how can we prepare insurance that is micro, affordable, automated, right, and seamless in different market and individualized, right? Okay. Of course, this is continuously going to be improved. It's still relatively early stage, but that's what's going to be no doubt what the future looks like.
Okay, the interesting thing that I also interested is what is you can explain for me means to produce machine to machine and human to machine protection. What is that, William?
Sure, good question. Fancy terms, but is it right? Is it really that fancy? If you look at every day, right? Look at all the things around you. It's already connected to the net. It's all collecting data in some form, and I think anyone would say there will only be more, not less.
Okay,
right. So when it talks about that, and you combine YAS, blockchain, and others, right? What we're doing is essentially insurance is a contract, some form of contract. Some of a contract that can be automated because of smart contracts, because of blockchain technology, right? And with that, along with all the data that I just mentioned, right? What's not to say when an autonomous car is entering a relatively high-risk zone, and that driver and that vehicle requires a top-up or increase in coverage for their insurance, right? Just imagine a little bit of that. That's not too far into the future. That's already happening. I'll give you another example. We wear a smartwatch, and in Hong Kong, we already deployed some of these as we understand your heart rate and your blood oxygen, right? We already help our subscribers and our users to understand whether they need to increase their coverage or to trigger a bite-sized insurance just for that activity, right? This is how it should be. It's something that's right for you at the right time. And because of technology nowadays, we can also prevent concentration of risk and fraud much better.
Okay.
So no longer we need to interfere with human and doubts. The data, again, it tells the truth. Right? So with all that connected and all that powering through YAS chain, it's very efficient, it's green, and it's automated. With continuous improvement, we can pretty much turn machine buying and insurance with the chain seamlessly on behalf, right? Obviously with consent and so on and so forth. So that is already happening, and we can only see that adopting in the next couple of years, as a standard. And that's where kind of what Web 2 to Web 3 is about, right?
Okay.
It's like from fax to email, it's just natural. And it's going to be that paradigm shift, right? And it's already happening. So we have to go beyond the hype. We have to go beyond the hype of speculations and kind of just market hype about what Web 3 is about. We want to make sure we're using the Web 3 technology and build something for the future and for the consumer. That's what we're doing.
Okay. And how do you calculate the risk and the accuracy of the data for this collaboration, maybe for your company or for the customer, William?
Well, that's going to require some of our actuarial to speak on behalf, but just put it very, let's not overcomplicate things, right? I think underwriting risk and understanding risk, it's still the same. It's not going to be very much different, right? If you look at the past 100 years, human risk on Earth, there are new risk, but it's not fundamentally extremely different. So I don't think the question is about some magical formula, doing some magical calculation. It's how do we leverage on this new data, real-time data, and new ways of risk that is happening, in the virtual world, especially in the digital world. How is this going to happen, right? And to accommodate that and use that not just in human or guesstimate, right, or feeling, but more so on contracts, on smart contracts, on algorithm. And, with machine learning better and better every day, understanding risk real time, this can only improve, right? So, to put it that way, machines and algorithm and smart contracts and machine learning will help us do all these in a much better way, much more efficient and much more non-biased, much more fair. And most importantly, more transparent.
Okay.
Right? And I think what everyone in the world is looking for, right? You're using my data, but let me know what you're using it for and how you're using it for and what's better for me. So that's how the calculation should work, and it's transparent. Yeah.
Okay. And the biggest question is, what is the benefit for the customer about this technology and this collaboration between you and Amodo, William?
Well,
what is the benefit?
Customer tell us so far, and hopefully there'll be more, it's much more seamless because in the past, insurance, because of average, right? Because of sample size, right? That's fundamental statistics. It's usually long-term or annual, right? So what does it mean? It means actually a lot of consumer doesn't even get to use it, right? For two reasons. One is they can't afford it, so it's not financially inclusive, right? By default, you need to have extra money to buy that, right? So customers is telling us we're helping them afford it, right? Financial inclusion. The number two is about making it less wastage. In the past, if we are being very honest, it's those who don't claim paying for those who claim, essentially in the risk pool, right? That's simplified way of saying insurance. But it's not necessarily fair, isn't it? Right? So by doing very individualized and more frequent adjustment to coverage and premium, and understanding the risk, it actually makes the playing field much more fair. Those surge and those unfairness kind of narrows down the gap. And it becomes much more fair. So that's number two. And then number three, it's because now it's no longer long-term. It's much more bite-sized, much more micro, and even embedded, right? Just like our case, we embed into a smartwatch. We embed into, a ticket for your bus. It's already seamless by default. So you don't have to waste and use time, right? Time is precious. You don't have to speak with anyone. You don't even need to go online and do anything. And very seamlessly it's there. So it saves time. And then the third, it's going to be very individualized, right? Our customer is telling us, great, you're giving us stuff that we want just right. So that's kind of giving them individualism. So financial inclusion, save time, seamless, and individualized, right? So these are what customers are telling us. Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully more soon. Yeah.
Okay. And one of interesting that I am curious, you have a product for new generation lifestyle, not limited to outdoor sports like insurance to Web3 activities. Basically, what do you offer? Can you explain about the detail of the product, William?
So let's go to the technology level, right? Let's go down a couple level. What is NFT essentially, right? I think it's in a very, very early form where most people understand it as an art or collectible. But it's kind of like in the early days of web, you kind of just think about it as a chat room or BBS, for those old enough to still remember. Seems similar, right? But if you look beyond that, it's actually contracts. It's actually software contracts, right? So what we see is in the future, in the very near future, it will, and it's already happening around the world, it will be the ownership of your car. It could be the deed for your house. Okay. So many different ways, as long as it's some form of contracts. It's a smart contract, essentially. So our protection mean, similar to property risk or cyber risk, you need insurance for that, because what's valuable to people nowadays are mostly online, right? And in these formats, in these transactional formats. So what we're insuring and protecting is the transfer risk and the asset risk, right? And the holding risk of such contracts or such, assets, just in a different form. So many people think, oh, wow, it's a very, it's way out there. It's very far-fetched, but yes, but if you, go back to the root, that's what it is. And more people are going to use it. More people is going to need it. The risk is there. The valuable things are there. So, we decide to put out an insurance for people to protect and do what insurance is supposed to do, right?
Okay. And then this partnership unlock YAS ability to autonomous insurance, provide autonomous insurance. Yeah, you can explain more about that, maybe, William.
Sorry,
maybe
if you don't mind repeating that a bit.
Yeah, autonomous insurance. Yeah, you have to. Can you explain what about autonomous insurance in?
Autonomous insurance. Yes,
autonomous insurance.
So basically, similar to autonomous car, right? Just like I mentioned earlier, with machine to machines or human to machines, right? Insurance is basically, in simple terms, again, right, for everyone, it's about some rules. It's about if this happens, if certain events, certain risk happens, if you're covered within the circumstances, there's certain compensation or claims to diversify your risk or minimize your loss, right? Or minimize your risk. Essentially, that's what insurance is. So that on its own, it's an algorithm. It's a contract. Okay. It's a rule. Again, in the past, it requires a lot of nuances and human interaction, because data are historic, data are different, and data is not abundant and accessible, right? That's why there is a lot of that intervention and nuances. And because of human interaction, there's also a chance of fraud, right? But now if you talk about a machine to a machine, a car, a smart car, and let's say a smart traffic light, right? Those data do not lie, and those data are real. So if the circumstances is, if it's a red light, your car is speeding, and you crash, and you have the insurance, does it pay or not pay, right? I'm dumping down things, of course, just to put an analogy, but autonomous insurance means what we're doing already on YAS chain is we're writing these rules, just like how underwriting rules should be and how claim rules should be, connecting with all the oracle of data and our partners' data, and being transparent and working with the users to create these insurance where it's much more automated. Today, it's not fully autonomous yet. Okay. Right? But as smart cities and smart devices get deployed and data become further abundant, with the right infrastructure like our chain that's green, that's what we're going to build for the future, how insurance work. It just happens. And that's what it should be.
And do you think this is the new era of insurance industry in the future, maybe, or
absolutely
far beyond this mass advance of in this you're developing, or what?
Definitely. I mean, it's not even that far, right? If you ask us, this is the next few years. I mean, at most, right? You look at everything around us, your smart light, smart TV, smart car. These are no longer like sci-fi movie. These are happening today, right? So we really need to look beyond what the industry is doing, but what the market and the consumer is living, right? And that's the world they're living in already. That's what we are all living in. So why is insurance behind? Insurance is still in the 20th century when everything else is in the 21st. So yes, I believe this is definitely, some form or the other in this kind of a way of insurance and how life would be. Now, whether insurance want to be forward and kind of evolve and revolutionize with the world, question mark. But I think we think it should, and that's why we're putting some effort and building it, right? We hopefully more people are helping and building that, but that's what we're building.
And after this, what will YAS develop again in the future, and maybe which market do you expand maybe in the future, William?
Yeah, thank you. Well, you mentioned we should definitely explore Indonesia. So we'll put that note down and we'll speak soon. But we're right now on the roadmap and already we're working with parties in Middle East, in Europe.
Okay.
As mentioned, we're growing and starting a Malaysia market. We were recently funded by 500 startup down there, 500 Durian. So we're working with our investor there as well. And Vietnam, we already have a team and we're preparing that launch there very soon. So very exciting time. But the next phase for us, you asked, is kind of we will try to understand again, like remove the country names. It's people, it's human. It's similar risk, just different data, different circumstances, right? How do we build that and make it borderless? What we're also doing is we actually work a lot with the regulators, right? In Hong Kong, we're part of the Hong Kong Insurance Authority, Future Task Force. And we're opening doors and welcoming other regulators, right? And working with them and say, how do we build this? And how do we go with the regulations and also upgrade the regulations for this future, right? So it's a parallel conversion. So some of it is building ahead. Some of them is working and pushing the industry forward together. So so we're very, very excited. I hope and see that the chain is built for already global. So we don't limit ourselves in certain cities or certain country.
Okay. And how about the product or services that you maybe develop in the future, William? What is
sure? We have a very heavy toe investment on personalized activities. So a lot about how individuals' lifestyle would be, right? Recently, we have we work with payment gateways for online shopping, both in the Web 2 world and in the Web 3 world, like in Metaverse and so forth, right? So these are commerce, right? So we just launched a product on that. We mentioned earlier on NFT, but just one form, but there will be many forms. As I mentioned, smart contracts, insurance, essentially. That's what we're doing. And coming forward, we actually have quite a bit on the DeFi sector, right? In terms of different currency and different tokens. Just the recent news and recent market mayhem about the whole cryptocurrency. It only reinforced the need of proper risk assessment and proper insurance and proper protection, right? With this, so it's just the right time we're building that, right? We really need to normalize and bring back some confidence about how all this is going to work. Kind of skipping away from the hype, right? And bring it down all the way to real use and real usage, and there comes real risk. So we're building those products as well for the DeFi and Web3 market.
Okay, maybe last question for me, William.
Sure.
I want to know about your perspective about insurance industry. What is insurance company do in the future to winning the competition or to develop their products or services? You say insurance industry is 20 centuries, but we are in 21 centuries. What is company of insurance company do to develop their product or their services, William?
Well, my humble opinion would be whoever has the right data and the right usage of data. Essentially, insurance is a lot about people and data. These are two things, right? So how, right? And what's the best medium to obtain them, to use them properly and use them responsibly and sustainably, right? Precisely what we're building. So most of the insurance company now will need to move forward in that and think about that, and we are thinking about that. So that's number one. So proper use of data to win and have those data. Number two, I think it's also about the model, right? And we don't have the $1 billion answer yet. We're building towards that, but it shouldn't be building a product and you push it and hope it sticks and hope people buy, right? I think in the past, a lot of the products are developed this way. You put out a product, you put some targets and ask the sales to sell back, right?
Okay.
But I think right now already, all the consumer are expecting that the product should be for me. Why is it for me and how is it for me? Okay. So that's why individualism, it should be pulled, right? The customers say they want it and then hence there's a product for them. Now it's easier said than done, but technology is there, data is there. It's just a matter of someone doing it. And we're very grateful. We're one of the person who's doing it at YAS. So, to answer your question, this is the vision we see and the need we see.
Yeah. Okay. Very last question, yeah. Sorry, one last question.
Sure, bonus round.
I just want to know your perspective about Insurtech, yeah. In your opinion, will Insurtech replace the conventional or traditional company in insurance, William?
That's another very controversial question, right? In the whole Insurtech or in any tech world, it's always about those fancy words, disruption, and all that. Again, taking away the hype and stereotype of words. Essentially, I think it's going to be complement, right? Just like how we are today. I think we are very much pulling the market and pulling incumbents forward. Okay. At the same time, they're also pulling us forward with their, with their network, with their fundamentals, with their, stringency or regulations. It's kind of like a balance, like a yin and yang, right? It's like a tai chi. You kind of pull each other. I think that's what innovation is about. All the innovation is about new technology, kind of awakening, what the world should be and showing the world what it could be. And that's what we are doing. And the incumbents are, hey, I got lots of network fundamental resources. And how do I support this innovation and be on the train and be on the ride or be on the rocket, for that revolution? And it's all about mindset. So as long as that's convergent, I think it's going to converge. Whoever converge first will win. And that's how we see Insurtech plays as a role. And we think that's how incumbent, if you will, could play in the role, right? And we're really seeing some of the incumbents, coming to talk with us, work with us, and be on the rocket together, right? And that's beautiful. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, William, for your time and your insight. Very interesting and very good explanation. Thank you again. Maybe next time we talk again about your planning to Indonesia, yeah.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Thank you. I want to closing first ya, William. Sobat Media Asuransi, terima kasih atas waktunya untuk diskusi kita pada kali ini. Sampai jumpa lagi di topik-topik selanjutnya dengan narasumber yang tidak kalah menarik ya. Salam Media Asuransi.